3,
It's happening.
2,
It's happening.
1,
It's finally the day.
0. All engine running.
What is it that we've been waiting for the past month? Well, the Casey Neistat Film School. Yes, ladies and gentlemen, it is officially January 10th, and I'm really excited to get started and learn. These are the following modules that we'll be covering for the first week according to the class. With any class, you have to have your handy-dandy seed notebook. This is what we call it here in America. And I'll be writing my thoughts when I'm learning. And then, just kind of going back as to whether the information that I got was usable. Because that's what we're trying to get from these courses, right? They're online courses, and you hope to gain something out of it. Plus, when I'm learning. First introductory course is just, standard brainstorming. You do this in any class. The introductory course, he gives you a full rundown about what's going to be going on in his thought process, and then we're going to go step by step. Right now, I'm just focusing on one idea that I want to hone in, and just take a photo and share it with my peers. I don't know. There were several ideas when he was going around walking through New York City. I thought about, why am I taking this class, right? Well, if you're watching this or you're on YouTube or you make anything creative, then you know that the ultimate goal is to make a living off your art. And I think about that on the daily, right? Like, how amazing would it be to only make videos or to take photos and not go through the 9 to 5 motions, right? So I really want to focus on that. Right now, it's just a bunch of scattered thoughts, but it's about, coming together. Like, you draw a spider web and ask yourself, like, why do you want to do that, right? Why is that the goal? And, it's not like becoming Michael Jackson or Beyonce, right? It's just about making a good living that you're comfortable with. This is a photo that I shared with my peer group. I think this is a really good start because, like you said, ideas can sometimes get in the way. So if you break down those ideas into smaller and simpler chunks, then it becomes a lot easier. I also forgot to mention that kind of the constraint with what I'm trying to do with this course is just shoot within my room. I think that's like a really good constraint and boundary. I know Bo Burnham did something similar to that, and I found it like quite interesting, right? Where do you spend most of your time in? What place do you know the most? The way that you make certain excuses not to shoot. Like, what can I make in my bedroom and make it interesting? I forgot how to talk for like 2 seconds. There's very few excuses, right? Like, I have a good light right here. There are 2 components of monthly that I want to talk about. Not so much the current video, because we haven't watched that yet. But the first is the way that they're trying to form a habit for you. You know how you've always bought a course and they give you the entire module and there's like 100 videos, right? You might think, oh, it's great that they gave me everything at once. However, all of us have run into information overload, right? You're thinking too much about it. You're looking at this giant chunk of work that you need to do, and it can be a little daunting. Editing Isaac here. My mistake. They just break up the module into 2 sections. That way it's easy to digest. This might seem a little counterintuitive, but the science is there that it's much easier to form habits when you do it little by little. On the other side of the coin, we have a bug. Some people might call it a feature, but take a look at this email. What are emails supposed to do? Convey information and a call to action. While there is a call to action to log into my account, there's absolutely no information. What's the context behind the email? Well, yesterday I posted my assignment and my peers commented on it. I'd like to know what they commented with this email. However, there's nothing there. Either pick that you're going to send me something in the email with a text, what they commented on, because if you're like me, then you're trying to have less buzzing and less notifications come from your phone. I'm okay with the notification if it provides me with information, but monthly didn't do that. My only speculation with this is monthly is trying to do this, so it looks like there's more traffic being driven to their website, but that's only a hunch, right? I'm being very studious and taking notes as I'm taking the course, and there's there's 2 dudes that I never thought I would see so lost. Here's Gary V with his Barstool interview, and then there's Casey during the course. These are 2 of the, when I think of confidence sometimes, I think about Gary V and Casey Neistat. I've never seen Casey look so confused during the course, and it was kind of funny, you know, not in a negative way, but like we all go through this, right? The creative process where you're just like the middle, right? There's like a bell curve, or when you're creating, it's actually the inverse, right? So it's like here, and then you dip down, and then you're up right here. And when he looked lost, it was like right in the center. Like, what am I doing? And you know, we all get those feelings and emotions when we're making anything. So it was really fascinating to see him in that state. Also, the quality of the videos is kind of high. Like it's high, because we're in California and New York, so everybody's high. But it's yeah, that's on monthly. I really love the quality. It's fantastic. There's no shakes, so there's no distraction, which is, you know, common in vlogs. But it's nice to see no shake. You know, everything looks perfectly exposed. So shout out to the team that did that. Also, what I love is Casey is just shooting with his phone, right? He made it a challenge to take this spontaneous idea. I'm thinking about it right now because my constraint was also I just want to shoot in this room and see what I can make, right? I'm already comfortable. I already know what I'm aware of. So to add another constraint, I have to think about it. Also, the back of my camera is broken. So as a collective set of YouTubers, we're always trying to hide our mistakes, right? And you can easily do that during the edit. But here, it is strange to see him stumble because he looks so efficient in his cuts, right? The cut is so important. If you've ever read the book In the Blink of an Eye, your cut should feel like the blink of an eye. And Casey has mastered that throughout his vlogs. But man, it's like he's repeating his line, he's stumbling, he's doing like, what? Like, and we all do that. So to see one of the biggest YouTubers that makes it look so effortless do that, it's just like so great to know. The lesson that I took from this particular section is, what do you genuinely care about, right? The angle is important. And you know, we all make the same things, like we make tech videos or vlogs or beauty tutorials, but what is your angle? And that's what's really going to define you, right? We can all make videos about, you know, Dune and how great it is in a book, but why? What do you genuinely care about? Do you care about the story, the overarching arcs, the themes of politics, dynamics, you know, birthright, the hero's journey of adventure? What angle are you going to choose, and how are you going to make that unique? And that's what you need to think about, because like when he was struggling, he still cared about the story. And if you care about that story, that middle point, you know, this point right here in the freaking reverse bell curve, that's what's going to push you to be a good storyteller, and that's what's going to make your video stand out and keep you pushing when, you know, shit hits the fan. This next point of the course is so location based, and it has to do more with his personality, but a lot of us can really develop that, right? Shout out charisma on command. But I love that he added a character that was never scripted. There was nothing to be gained. The individual was just there spontaneously. And instead of ignoring it, right, he flips the camera around and makes the individual, the person, a part of the story. It makes it exciting. We haven't gotten to the editing yet, but I love that. And I don't think you can do that in any other city in the world aside from New York. He might say, oh, you know, you can do that anywhere, but you really can't. Like San Francisco, nobody talks to you unless you have Patagonia, Allbirds, joggers, iPhone 15, Facebook metaverse goggles on. They don't do that. Like people, you know, try to go about their day sometimes. But New York is so different in that manner. So I disagree that you can't do that in any other city, right? But you know, if you've ever met me in real life, then you know that I do not shut up about New York. Last night, I really wanted to push myself and watch more of the class. Like, I really thought about it for a second, guys. Like, I could just watch the videos, right? Write down a few bulletin points, call it a day, film a video, try to get myself on the very top of the search, but like, why would I do that, right? This is like someone that I really admire. And think about someone that you really admire, like if The Rock or Charlie Puth or I don't know, freaking who's someone else that's famous? David Dobrik. did something exactly the same, right? Wouldn't you just want to absorb what they're saying, why they're saying it, the way they're saying it? So those are my thoughts before we dive into the editing portion. This is the part that I really want to see, right? Like, what's the thought process? What are we doing here? This was solely for the first act, and it was 50 seconds. I kid you not. How long did it take Casey to edit? 59 minutes. I think about the law of equivalent exchange a lot. If you're a giant nerd and you watch Full Metal Alchemist, then you know what it is, right? The exchange has to be equivalent to what you want. And 59 minutes for 50 seconds, we all do the same thing, right? We all wait and put a lot of weight in that intro because that's the hook. That's what people will want to see. It'll determine whether or not they'll stay for the rest of the video. And man, it's just so nice to see that even someone who's done this for 365 days plus still struggles with that first hook. There's a lot of I don't know. There's a lot of what am I doing? You'd think he'd figured it out by now, right? There's a cadence and there's a rhythm. But now it's not that. It really is not that glamorous sometimes. It's just you sitting there and scratching your head, a lot of trial and error, which I really like. It just feels so real. It is now Thursday, January 13th, and last night I finished the editing portion of the course. I also wrote the first script, the first draft, for my 3-minute video. So there are 3 constraints at the moment that I've given myself, and that Casey put in the course, right? And I think the best thing to do is to mix up the idea of using both an iPhone and my camera, because with the script, I gave myself only 2 pages to work with. That was one constraint. The second constraint was making sure that it was only 3 minutes. 2.5 is the aim. I'm just trying to keep this very, very short so I don't feel burnt out, because I'm also doing these vlogs and I'm still doing the tech reviews. So I don't want to feel too burnt out and put too much pressure on myself. And then third, shooting within this room, right? Like, how can I make this room interesting? So those are a few of the constraints that I put on myself. If I forgot anything, I'll mention it. But with this first draft, I just want to think about the storyboard next. And what I'm going to do is go a little bit old school and just use sticky notes and draw it on the board, right? Like, what am I thinking about? What are the shots? You want your wides, your medium, and your tights, like the Fro says. When is the Fro gonna come out with his monthly course? Still waiting on that one. So I just want to think about it. Like, what emotion am I trying to invoke? Because I'm still trying to find that. I was thinking of a mix of hopeful, slow, and frustrating, right? Like, there's nothing worse as a human being than being frustrated, right? Let me just move that. Yeah, so that's what I'm trying to invoke. Think about the little details, right? There was a moment in the monthly course where Casey used a footage for like 1/8 of a second. I myself have never done that. Like, 1/8 of a second. It's so minute. That 1/8 of a second is minute in the grand scheme of things, right? But he doesn't believe that one frame makes or breaks a movie, right? I have to simmer on that thought. Like, does it not? Are there not fantastic shots, one-shots that truly make a movie? The one that my mind automatically goes to is Captain America in Avengers Endgame, where he's trying to go against Thanos and his army. Like, I look at that shot and I'm like, wow, this is not only him as a character throughout his arc and Civil War and Infinity War, but it just represents the character so much, right? Even if he's the last person standing, Captain America would fight for the right thing. So I'm not sure if that's a correct, like, I don't know if I agree with that, because I feel very strong that one frame can be ingrained in an individual's head so much that it makes the movie special. And that's a frame that I hold in my head that's like, wow, this is peak cinema. Some people say, oh, it's not cinema, right? But I think cinema is just something that makes you go, wow, brings something out of you that you never thought imaginable. How can a character like Captain America, who's just a fictional person or fictional thing, ever like make you feel so willing to take on reality, right? Because reality can be tough. Anyways, enough about my spiel. This is this is this is just me thinking out loud. So I'm gonna take some flashcards, and again, just 2 to 3 minutes. It doesn't have to be huge. It took quite a bit. I think I worked on this for maybe like half an hour to 40 minutes, and the storyboard looks good. I know it's supposed to be a little bit more spontaneous, but if you've seen my What Every Photographer Says on YouTube, check out that shorts, by the way. It actually takes a lot of work. I think it takes more work to be spontaneous with filmmaking, and I think it's good on certain occasions, but for this, I just want to think about it a little bit more, right? Because I actually want a good amount of feedback from my peers, and I'm going to try to give it my best. Like, I should be giving it my best throughout the entire course. So I made a little storyboard, and I realized that I'm going to have to use some stock footage. Usually my favorite website is Pexels. It's like the best, man. Like, it is a fantastic website where a lot of creatives go to just dump their stuff, and you can donate to them. One of the best models that I've seen so far. So check it out if you want to know where I find my stock footage. And building on that, while I was building the storyboard, I also rewrote certain parts. I was just talking to myself out loud. And, certain sentences didn't make sense. Transitions didn't make sense either. And I realized there was kind of a little gap between when I first found my passion and then the struggles that come with it, right? Being an artist isn't all doom and gloom. It's probably one of the best things in the world. So there was like this missing gap. So it is still about 2 pages and 1/8 maybe of a page. So just still trying to be honest with you guys. So it's found footage, my own footage, as much as I'm going to try to capture in camera, voiceover. So I'm going to do a voiceover for this. I'll also be thinking about the sounds, right? Sound design is extremely important. And when you're first starting, this is just my take. It doesn't have to do anything with the courses. Man, I focus so much on the image, right? People are willing to forgive. Here's like a saying in the industry, right? People are willing to forgive a poor image. However, they will not forgive poor sound, right? Our ears are extremely sensitive to a lot of sound, especially high-pitched noise. If you're clipping like crazy, it is, it's connected to your brain. You like your ears, right? You've had them as long as you could remember. So I'm trying to think of the sounds too. And if you're a beginner filmmaker, I'd highly suggest focusing more on sounds because they're a lot easier to find online. We always make the excuse, I know, I've done it before in the past, I don't have this shot. I can't buy Adobe stock. But I always had that excuse in sound, man. Like, it's so important. It carries like 70% of the movie if done right. So my storyboard is right here, and just gotta think about it, let it simmer again, and when I'm recording, it'll get fixed again. Oh man, this is gonna be one long vlog, man. Okay. There's those moments where you're like, what did I get myself into? And not knowing the frame about certain things is one thing, right? I don't want to think about the sound or do anything. It's been kind of a long day. Always the North Star, right? The North Star. What is the North Star? Trying to improve, get this up on YouTube to get feedback, hopefully learn something from this, right? So that the next iteration's a lot better. That's what we're kind of designed to do. I just don't want to do it. But we'll find out if I do it by tonight, just like thinking about the sound and sound design. I'll even go ahead and pick out a few things from my catalog or from, the sound. I'll also be using a bit of Epidemic sound. I'm not sponsored. This is not a sponsored segment or anything, but I'm just letting you guys know where I'm getting my music. This is like the difficult part that I run into at the moment with sound design. If anybody has the answer, that'd be amazing. Where, sound isn't just about stuffing stuff in, but making it sound full, right? The best analogy that I can think of is you can have food that is very carb-based, and it might taste delicious, but it's not very nutritious, right? On the opposite end, you can have very nutritious food that doesn't look very pretty. If you're in America, then that's kind of the case a majority of the time, right? Like people aren't attracted to broccoli a whole bunch of the time. So you have to find like the good medium where it looks pretty and it's also nutritious. So with sound, I'm still a beginner. I'm done with the sounds. And there's no better feeling than the flow state, right? Like where you just know that your decisions are correct or as close to correct as you can instinctively know based on the information that you're given. Like you kind of see the pathways. And I think that Magnus Carlsen, the #1 ranked chess player in the world, put it best. I will completely butcher what he said, but here's what he said.
If you don't have the ability to make these quick decisions based on intuition, mostly confidently, then you will miss out on so many opportunities because you see dangers that aren't actually real.
And I think that it's really true, right? Like our head can play games on us. So keeping that in mind, I'm gonna take this and then just create a folder inside my computer and just start putting stuff in there. I'm not even gonna edit at this point. And also, I know I'm doing it just on sticky notes. There's a bunch of software out there, I know that, but man, there's just so much staring at the screen as of 2020. I'm not trying to look at a screen, and it's important to try to get into that flow state, right? So let's get cracking on that part of the project. I can tell you that the first week is mainly focused for the very beginner. It's focusing on story and structure and why the story matters, right? You can have the fantasy lighting, the best camera in the world, the best audio, but if your story is not prime and if you're not focusing on a beginning, middle, and end, then you don't really have anything. If I were to be starting my YouTube channel or photography or videography this year, then that might be a potential reason to buy this. With this in mind, my expectation is that the class is going to get more difficult as we get along through the journey. One thing I don't like about the platform monthly, though, is that all my peers are from all around the world. And that sounds really cool to say, but it's really hard to communicate. We do give each other feedback on the projects, but they're in different time zones, right? And filmmaking, like any art and in many industries, is a collaborative effort. I'd love to be able to meet individuals that are local to, my area so we can build stuff together. But monthly doesn't do that. All my peers are kind of randomized and it's not good. Like, I personally don't like that. I wish they were like nearby or in my state or in my country because that would make a lot more sense. At the moment, that's what I don't like. And people are just responding at random times. We're all over the world. Sounds cool, but not very practical. But that wraps up the first week. Things will change. I'll simmer on thoughts, and they will change, hopefully, and things will get better. That's where my second vlog ends. So make sure to follow me on Twitter. Let me know your opinions if you are in the course. What do you like? What do you dislike? At the end of the day, I thank you so much for your time and your attention. My name is Asmi Hangos, and I'll catch you in the next one.